Got a new box. Let's open it up and see what's inside today. That's an exciting one. Automatic retry settings for batch jobs. In a cloud application, there is a chance of a connection loss to the database. Currently, if the application experiences a connection loss, any batch jobs that are running are terminated. With the 10.0.18 release, Microsoft has introduced a new retriable flag that is set on every Microsoft batch job. About 90% or so of the batch jobs between 10.0.18 and 19 have been updated, and batch jobs are being reworked to allow them to be retriable. This flag is used to safely retry batch jobs when a transient connection to the SQL database is experienced. This is a fully extensible property that has been added to all of the batch jobs, and you can set that retry property on your custom batch jobs. You also have the ability to override the retriable flag to set it back to false if the code has been configured to make a batch job retriable and you don't want the system to retry it. Why don't you say we take a look at how to set this up and how to use this in Dynamics 365. So I'm here in Dynamics 365 and we're going to go ahead and navigate into the feature management workspace. So I'll use the search bar at the top and search for feature management. Once I'm in this feature management workspace, I'm going to switch over to the All tab and I'm going to do a quick search here for batch. You will notice that when I do this search, that there is no actual feature specific to enabling the automatic retry settings for batch jobs. However, there are a handful of additional or similarly named batch jobs that you may want to consider for performance improvements in general, kind of batch processing improvements. There's a feature here for batch task size, number of lines. There's one for batch reschedule, failed recurrent jobs. There's a preview feature for batch priority-based scheduling. And there's another one for batch framework contention. Because this feature is automatically enabled for administrators, there's nothing that you'll need to do to enable this. Once you take the update for 10.0.18 or later, you'll automatically have this new feature. What I'm going to do is show you how you can actually disable automatic retry for a specific batch job. So for this, I'm going to navigate into System Administration. And then underneath the setup area, I'm going to navigate into a new page called Batch Class Configuration Overrides. This will open up a new screen. Now, by default, when you open up this screen, it's going to be empty in an environment where you have not disabled any. So I'm going to click the new icon to create a new record, and then using the drop-down box here for batch class name, I'll select the batch class that I want. So for my example, I'm going to use one of these asset leasing examples. And I want this one, the asset lease payment confirmation batch. I'll highlight the batch job and then click select. And you'll notice that by default, this is retriable. If I do not want this particular batch job to be retried, I can simply clear the checkbox. Now, if there's a batch job that does not have the is retriable flag set, you'll need to do a code extension to that particular class in order to make it retriable. This page only allows you to disable the retry on a batch job where the code has been implemented to allow the retry. So I want to talk a little bit now about how to implement the retriable interface. So I'm here in the docs article on how to enable automatic retries on batch jobs. And underneath the frequently asked questions, there's a question here, how do I implement the retriable interface? And you can see here that there are two code samples. One is for using run-based batch, and the second sample is for using the sys operation service controller. Both of them have pretty similar functionality. So here you can see we have extended this batch job to now implement batch retriable. That's the key here. This class is also decorated with the wrappable and replaceable attributes. And in this example, they're both set to true. Obviously, depending on your custom batch job or what your needs are, you can change these. And then inside of this class, you'll need a method that is a public Boolean called isRetriable. You do have the option to use final if you want to prevent overriding of the setting. And then in that method, all you need to do is return either true or false. In the code sample here, we've returned false, which means that the batch job is not retriable. If you want to make it retriable, then you'll need to return true. You can see here on the bottom half, there's a similar code sample when you're using that sys operations service controller. Again, we're implementing the batch retriable, creating a method called isRetriable, and returning either true or false. This article also has some additional information about how you can use the functionality. But one thing that's really important to me or to understand about the batch retriable is that you'll need to make sure that your batch job is idempotent. And that basically just means that you can retry it. Not all batch jobs are created equally. In some cases, it may not be retriable based on the way the code is written, because if something fails, you can't go back and redo this. This really all has to come down to how your transaction blocks or your TTS blocks are configured in your particular code sample. So you'll need to make sure that the code is designed to be retriable. There's some additional information in here and kind of what idempotent means, but really the key here is that a retry will not change or affect the overall result. That's the kind of principle that you want to keep in the back of your mind when you're deciding if your custom batch jobs should be retriable or not. We do have a Tech Talk coming up at the end of the month where you'll have an opportunity to hear more about this feature and ask all of your questions. I encourage you to check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. And thank you for joining me today on our Release Notes Unboxed. We'll see you next time on Dynamics 365 Unboxed. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.